Starting a trucking business, it's sometimes pictured as kind of like planting a money tree.
Yeah.
Exactly. Except this tree takes wheels, a lot of diesel, stacks of paperwork, and some serious planning, especially looking ahead to 2025.
That's the truth.
So today, we're doing a deep dive. We want to get into the real costs, the key things you absolutely need to consider if you're thinking about launching your own trucking operation.
Yeah.
Our mission, pretty simple, really. We want to cut through all the confusion, give you the straight scoop on the money involved, not just what you'll pay for, but really why each piece matters.
And let's just say it up front.
Hmm.
There's no magic number here. No single price tag.
Right.
What it's actually going to cost you, well, that really depends. It depends heavily on your location, where you're based.
Right.
Also, what kind of trucking you plan to do.
Hmm.
And of course, how big you want to start out.
That makes sense.
For example, different states. Totally different fees. Insurance costs can be all over the map based on your record, what you're hauling. I mean, hauling logs is just a different world financially than hauling, say, milk in a reefer.
So that variability, why is it so hard to pin down a number? Where do folks maybe miscalculate when they're first starting to budget?
Well, it often comes down to underestimating those key things we just mentioned, the variables.
Like location.
Exactly. Location isn't just about your business address. It affects state fees, registrations, permits. Even insurance rates can vary wildly depending on where you plan to run.
Ah, okay.
And there's the type of trucking. Are you thinking flatbed, reefer, refrigerated, maybe hazmat? Each one needs different permits, maybe different equipment, and definitely different insurance levels. That's a big cost driver.
Right. Specialized cargo means specialized costs.
Precisely. And then scale. Are you starting as a single owner operator, maybe leasing onto a bigger company first? Or are you aiming to get your own authority right away, maybe even start with a couple of trucks? Very different financial needs.
And how you get the truck itself.
Huge difference. Your acquisition method. Are you leasing, buying new, buying used? That dramatically changes how much cash you need right at the beginning.
Okay. With all that in mind, it can still feel a bit abstract. Can you walk us through the major upfront costs? Maybe start with the elephant in the room, the truck itself.
Absolutely. Let's talk concrete numbers or these ranges.
Yeah,
Your semi-truck, that's your number one tool, right? And usually your biggest single expense.
for sure.
For a brand new one, you're probably looking at $80,000, maybe up to $150,000, sometimes even more. But it comes with warranties. The latest tech,
In used.
used, is definitely cheaper up front. Maybe $30,000 to $80,000. Big range there too. But, and this is crucial, get it inspected.
Oh, yeah.
Seriously, don't just kick the tires. Pay for a good inspection by a diesel mechanic who really knows that specific type of truck. It might cost a bit, but it can honestly save you thousands, tens of thousands in surprise repairs later. Think of it as an investment.
That's really solid advice. Easy to skip that step to save a few bucks up front.
Mm.
And then you need something to pull, right? The trailer.
Exactly. The trailer, a new one might run you $30,000 to $50,000. Again, used as an option, cheaper. Maybe $15,000 to $25,000 for a decent used dry van.
Okay.
And if you're financing these big ticket items, which most people do, you'll need a down payment, usually 10, maybe 20% of the total cost. So that could be anywhere from, say, $8,000 up to $30,000
Right.
just for the down payment.
Wow. Okay. Now, something I hear a lot about, something that can apparently make or break you early on, insurance. It sounds like it can be incredibly expensive, especially for newcomers.
You absolutely hit on a critical point there. Commercial truck insurance.
Right.
It's not optional. It's required by law. And it protects you from financial ruin, basically.
Covers accidents, cargo.
Everything. Accidents, damage to your truck or trailer, cargo damage, legal stuff if something goes wrong. The cost, it varies hugely, like
Mhm.
$10,000 to $50,000 a year.
50,000. What makes it swing so much?
Several things. What you haul hazmat is way up there, where you run local versus long haul. Your driving record, obviously, how much experience you have, whether you have your own authority or you're leased on, all these things factor in.
Okay. And besides insurance, there's other paperwork, right? Licenses, permits.
Licenses, permits, can't operate legally without them. You're talking your USDOT number, probably an MC number if you're crossing state lines for hire. Then there's IRP, that's International Registration Plan for your plates if you run in multiple states. And IFT, International Fuel Tax Agreement for fuel taxes.
Sounds complicated.
It can be. The total for all that, maybe $1,000 to $5,000 to get it all set up initially.
So we've got the truck, the trailer, the insurance, the permits. What about the tech inside the cab? And just like setting up the actual business.
Good point. Technology first. You absolutely need an electronic logging device, an ELD, that it's law now, tracks your hours. They run maybe $100 to $1,000 plus sometimes a monthly fee.
Right, hours of service.
It's exactly. Then business formation.
Yep.
You want to set up an LLC or something similar. That protects your personal assets, separates them from the business.
Got it.
Costs vary by state, maybe $50 to $500. Pretty straightforward usually.
And other tech, GPS, software.
Yeah, broader technology. A good commercial GPS is essential, not just Google Maps on your phone. Route planning software helps efficiency, maybe fleet management software down the road, and definitely access to load boards to find freight, especially early on. All that tech keeps you legal, efficient, organized. Could be $2,000, maybe up to $20,000, depending on how sophisticated you get.
Okay, $2,000 to $20,000 for tech. Now, I get the efficiency part, but how do you actually get the work? What about marketing? Seems like trucking might be different than selling widgets online.
It is different. That's a sharp question. You can spend on branding and marketing, a logo, maybe a simple website, business cards. That might be $5,000, $20,000, depending on how much you DIY. But honestly, for a lot of owner-operators starting out, the best marketing is building solid relationships, directly with shippers or more often with good freight brokers. Specializing in a certain lane or type of freight can also work, delivering great service so people want to hire you again. That's often more effective than broad advertising.
Relationship building, okay.
And don't forget initial inventory. Some basic spare parts, filters, belts, fluids, basic tools. Having that stuff on hand can save you a fortune on roadside repairs and, maybe more importantly, save you downtime. Downtime is lost money. Budget maybe $5,000 to $20,000 for that.
Good point. And a place to park the truck, an office.
A facility, yeah, that's often optional at first. Lots of owner-operators start right from home. But if you grow, you might need dedicated parking, maybe small office, eventually even a maintenance bay.
Yeah.
That's a potential future cost, and it could be significant, like $2,000 to $10,000 a month if you need actual space.
Wow, okay. That's a lot of pieces. So if you pull all those initial costs together, what's the bottom line? Can you give us those total startup estimates for different situations?
Okay, let's try to summarize. If you're an owner-operator and you already have your own truck, maybe you were leased on before, and now you're getting your own authority, you're probably looking at $10,000 to $30,000. That's mostly insurance down payment, permits, ELD, setting up the LLC.
Got it.
Now, if you're starting completely from scratch, buying a brand new truck and a new trailer, that's the high end. You could be looking at $93,000 easily, maybe up to $295,000 or even a bit more.
Big jump.
Huge jump. So a more typical new trucking business, maybe buying a good used truck, used trailer, getting everything else set up, you should probably plan for anywhere between $25,000 and $200,000 to get rolling. Still a wide range, but that's a realistic picture for many.
Okay, $25K to $200 for a typical start. Phew.
And that's just to open the doors, right? What about keeping the wheels turning month after month?
Exactly. The startup costs are just the beginning. Once you're operational, the focus shifts to those ongoing expenses. And the big one, month in, month out, is fuel.
Yeah, I bet. Easily $4,000 to $10,000 a month, maybe more. Depends on how much you run, fuel prices, your truck's efficiency. It's a massive constant cost.
Okay, what else?
Maintenance and repairs. Trucks need constant upkeep, oil changes, tires, brakes, plus things just break sometimes. You need to budget consistently for that.
Yeah.
Maybe $500 to $3,000 a month, averaged out. Some months less, some more.
Unexpected repairs can sting.
They really can. Then, if you decide to hire drivers, that's a major expense. Salaries run maybe $50,000 to $90,000 per year per driver, plus you have payroll taxes, maybe benefits.
Okay.
Your insurance premium, that big annual number, you'll likely pay it monthly. So breaking it down, that's roughly $800 to $4,000 per month.
Still significant.
Definitely. And finally, don't forget things like tolls and taxes. Depending on where you run, tolls can add up fast. Plus various highway use taxes and other fees. It varies a lot by state and route.
It really sounds like a demanding business, financially speaking, both getting started and keeping it going. Given all these costs, what are some smart ways to keep those expenses under control? And maybe keep the stress levels down a bit.
Yeah, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? There are definitely strategies. First, probably the most common advice, start small.
One truck.
One truck. Learn the business, build relationships, get profitable, then think about expanding. Don't try to build an empire overnight.
Makes sense.
Second, we touched on this, but use wisely. Don't just buy the cheapest truck you find. Invest in that thorough pre-purchase inspection. Avoid buying someone else's major headache. It's tempting to save up front, but it can cost you big time later.
Right, that lemon factor.
Exactly. Third, consider leasing instead of buying the truck, especially at first. It means lower upfront cash needed. You won't own the asset, but it can be a good way to start with less capital risk.
Okay.
Fourth, shop around aggressively.
Yeah.
Get multiple quotes for insurance. Compare financing options from different lenders. Every percentage point matters.
Don't just take the first offer.
Never. Fifth, and this is critical, budget for emergencies. Have a cash reserve. Trucks break down. Freight can slow down. You need a cushion. Ideally 3 to 6 months of operating expenses set aside for those tough times. It reduces so much stress.
That emergency fund sounds key.
It really is. And finally, maybe the most important thing, learn constantly. Talk to other truckers. Join online forums. Read industry websites and magazines. The more you know, the fewer expensive mistakes you'll make. Learn from others' experiences.
That's fantastic practical advice. Really goes beyond just the spreadsheet numbers. So we've broken down the startup costs, the ongoing expenses, looked at ways to manage it all, which brings us back to the big question. After looking at all this, is starting a trucking business in 2025 actually worth it?
I think the answer is yes. A definite yes. If you do your homework and plan carefully.
The if is important.
It is. Starting out might cost anywhere from, like we said, $10,000 if you own a truck already, up to maybe $295,000 or more if you're buying all new gear. It's a serious investment.
But the potential return.
That's the flip side. A well-run trucking business, even just one truck operated efficiently, can absolutely generate significant income. We're talking potential gross revenues of $100,000 to $250,000 a year, maybe even more in the right niche. It offers a real path to being your own boss and achieving financial independence.
So maybe the way to think about it isn't just buying a truck. It's more like you're building a business, an enterprise that could genuinely drive your future success.
Exactly. You're in the driver's seat, literally and figuratively.
So if this deep dive got you thinking, the next step isn't just dreaming about the open road. It's practical.
Yeah.
Make a checklist based on what we talked about. Do your specific research for your state, your planned operation, and definitely talk to people, other truckers, small business advisors in your area.
That real-world advice is invaluable.
Absolutely. The open road is calling, as they say. And with the right prep, the right planning, you'll be much more ready to answer that call.